Good afternoon, everyone. Please keep on joining and put up your names and numbers as the recording is already on. Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. Let's start with the session where we left last time. We've been through the determinants. That is the first five determinants of supply of money. We've already done the reserve ratios, and last time I told you that I'll just check that what is CRR and SLR because I was not ready to give you a particular reply that yes, this is this and this is that because I was not sure. I just checked, and yes, you people were absolutely right. CRR is about, as you can see over here, CRR is about the RE, that is excessive reserve ratio, and the required reserve ratio, that is RR, is SLR. Let's move ahead with the confidence in bank money. But right, we have we done this confidence in bank money or it's pending yet? Hmm. Thanks, Rahil. So we'll continue with the confidence in bank money. Now, what happens is the general economic condition will affect the confidence of the public in bank money, and that is something which will influence the currency ratio and the reserve ratio. See what happens with the confidence in bank is that if the economy is moving normally, then a person will have too much confidence in the bank and they will think about making an investment in the economy at large. But whenever during this recession period, what happens with people is that their confidence in the bank money is low, and as a result of that, the currency ratios and the reserve ratios will rise. But at the same time, when there is a certain amount of prosperity in the society, this currency ratios and reserve ratios tend to be low because people have enough trust in the bank. Sorry, there was some network issue. Basically, in the time of this prosperity, what happens is that people are very sure that nothing will happen to their money if they have kept that amount in the bank. But that is not in the case of recession. In the case of recession, the level of confidence of an individual in the bank is very low. So, and that is when the level of confidence is less, you cannot expect a person to keep more money. And as a result of that, the currency ratio and the reserve ratios rise. Moreover, in the time of recession, even the government has certain constraints about this credit money. They also try to reduce the credit money. Then we are having time deposit ratio. Now, what is this? The denotion for time deposit ratio is T. This is something which represents the ratio of time deposit to the demand deposits, and that way in a behavioral pattern. This is something which is having a very negative effect on the money multiplier. When the time deposits are higher as compared to demand deposits, like a rise in time deposits and with a will reduce the money multiplier. And whenever there is a reduction in the money multiplier, there will be the reduction in the supply of money also. So this is something which you have to understand that with the decrease in time deposits and with a decrease in demand deposits, there'll be a accurately negative impact on the money multiplier, and with the negative impact on the money multiplier, the supply of money in the market will also decrease. Then we are having the value of money. Now, the value of money is something which can be termed in the way of 1 by P of other goods and services. This is like it is having a very positive influence on the monetary base, and thus it is having a positive impact on the money stock also. See, if the value of money increases, you'll be able to buy the same article at a lesser rate. That is what happens with real money also. So when the value of the money increases, obviously it is going to have a positive impact on the economy. At the same time, when the value of money decreases, it will have a similar impact on the monetary base and the economy also. So when we are thinking about conserving or stocking money for the concept of value, then the value of money is playing a very important role. Okay, then let's start the recording. Okay, then we are having the another determinant of money supply is real money. Real money is something which real income. Now, income is something which is denoted by Y, and that has a positive influence on the money multiplier. The more the real income, the more will be the money multiplier. The more the money multiplier, the more will be the supply of money in the market. So, a rise in real income will tend to increase the money multiplier, and thus the money supply will also rise. In another condition, everything will go the other way around. That is, with the decrease in real income, there will be a decrease in money multiplier, and there will be a decrease in money supply also. Okay. Okay. So here, what is happening? That real income is basically not the money that we are having. It is the value of money. That is what real income is all about. Then we are having another determinant of money, that is interest rate. Now, interest rate is something which is having a very positive effect on money multiplier and on money also. The rise in the rate of interest will reduce the reserve ratio, right? Which will raise the money multiplier and which will raise the money supply also. See, the whenever the rate of interest is high, it means that the people are having a certain amount of confidence in the bank, which in turn gives the bank an ability to pay more interest to an individual. That is why, with this confidence, the reserve ratio is decreased. And whenever the reserve ratio is decreased, obviously the bank will have more amount with them. Just imagine that our SLR, instead of being 18%, is turned to 12%. The bank will have 6% more money to give in the market. So that will increase the supply of money in the market. At the same time, if the SLR is increased from 18% to 20%, so that will decrease the money, and in turn, it will decrease the money supply also. So these were the determinant. Okay, the last two determinants of money supply are monetary policy and seasonal factors. Now, what is the monetary policy? Monetary policy is basically the policy which is termed by the central bank, and it is having both positive and negative influence on the money multiplier and the supply of money, depending on whether the reserve requirement is lowered or higher. That is what this monetary policy usually does. It tells us that in which way does the economy need to move, and at the same time, it also tells us that whether the reserves or the rate of reserves need to be increased or decreased. Now, if this reserve requirement is raised, the value of reserve ratio will also rise. Like the RBI is thinking that instead of there's too much money in the market and we need to curtail some, we need to bring the economy back into equilibrium by extracting the money out of the economy. So what will they do is they'll increase the reserve requirement. With the increase in the reserve requirement, what will happen? The value of reserve ratio will rise, and that will, with the rise in the reserve ratio, multiplier effect is the investment. The investment will decrease, and when there will be a rise in the reserve ratio, when there will be a decrease in investment, the money supply will also be reduced. In another case, the situation will be absolutely reverse. Then we are having seasonal factors. Now, seasonal factors are something which are having a very negative effect on money multiplier, and this should be understood by you by now. That is, money multiplier and the supply of money are always moving in the same direction. Like during holiday periods or during vacation periods, the currency ratio will tend to rise, and that will be reducing the money multiplier. because people tend to move out or people tend to go for a vacation outside the country. There's a more requirement of foreign exchange as compared to investment. That is one of the reasons because of which the supply of money and the money multiplier both falls in seasonal factors. Are we clear with this? Kids, are we clear with this? Is there anyone who is having any sort of doubt? Okay. So with this, we'll move towards the next topic, that is the RBI approach. Okay. So how many of you have done this RBI approach in your 12th standard also? Okay. So those who have done the RBI approach in their 12th standard, did they go through this money aggregates as M1, M2, M3, and M4, or were there some other aggregates also? Okay. M4. Yes, we are also having till M4 only. Okay, so what happens over here is that in the early days, when money aggregates were used to calculate the total money supply in the market, we used to use these aspects of M1, M2, M3, and M4. But these were the aspects which were used by the Reserve Bank of India from 1957 to 1977. I'll have to check the exact date. Just give me a moment. Check the exact date and I'll tell you the exact thing. Yes, it was till 1977 only. That is from 1957 to 1977. This was something which was introduced. That these money aggregates of supply of money were there. M1, M2, M3, and M4. After that, there were new aggregates which were introduced by the Reserve Bank of India, and in them, M0 was taken into consideration. Now, what is M0? Anyone can tell me? Because you must have done M1, M2, M3, and M4 in your 12th standard. But I was taught M0, M1, M2, M3. I'm asking that is there anyone who has been through this M0 concept? No one? This was the concept that came into existence in 1978. Okay, no. See, basically, the reserves that this RBI has, those were considered as a part of M0. Other things were kept as same, and M4 was removed. That is, it was taken into consideration that M3 by itself can include everything, but those concepts were not held acceptable for a very longer period of time, and hence we came back to this M1, M2, and M3, M4 as money aggregates in order to understand that how we can calculate the total money which is supplied in the market. Now, the methods which are used to measure the supply of money uh, in the market are called M1, M2, M3, and M4. Now, what is this M1, M2, M3, and M4? Basically, all these types of money are having their own names also. Like M1 is called narrow money. Now, why it is called a narrow money? Because M1 is the narrowest definition of the supply of money because it includes only currency and checkable deposits. These are the two things which are included in M1. That is coins and paper money issued by central bank and the checkable deposit. That is the checking accounts balance which are kept by the commercial banks and which are easily convertible into cash on demand by writing the check. This does not include your entire bank balance, but only the checkable deposits. That is why this is called narrow money. That as soon as you need money, this sort of money can be utilized. The next concept that we have for money is near money. See, whenever we are calculating near money, the calculation is always M2 minus M1. That is what near money and quasi money is. Whereas if you are calculating M2, then it is M1 plus near money. That is the calculation. So whenever we are calculating M2, what will we be finding out is currency and checkable deposits. Then the second part, which is included in M2, or we can say is a part of near money, is savings accounts in commercial banks. All the savings accounts that are there in commercial banks are considered as possible of near money. And then the FDs, which we are having in the commercial banks, that are also a part of near money. And the negotiable certificates of deposits, they are also a part of near money. Anyone who's aware what are these negotiable certificates of deposits? They are bonds. Okay, which sort of bonds, bache? You are right when you are telling me that they are bonds, but they are which sort of bonds? Anyone can throw some light on which sort of bonds? These are basically high value government bonds, and these are those bonds which can be encashed only at a particular date. They're sold by the government, and generally these sort of bonds are bought by small investors because they are the least risky bonds. High value bonds, I'm saying, because the value of these bonds is actually high, and they are sold by the government at a discounted rate, at a rate which is lesser than the actual bond value. But they can be encashed only after the date of maturity. Yes, that is something which we have googled, right? In the first possible option, this is the amount that they have given. But we are talking about Indian money, no? We cannot talk about dollars all the time. Yes, when if we are talking about Indian money also, then also a nearby amount is there. I know, Bachi. How can I be so sure that this is the first given option? And it's okay, at least you tried. So good, applause for that. But Hamisha Googling is not good. Yes, these are in multiple of 45,000 rupees. That is absolutely right. But generally, government tries to give them at a bigger rate only. Bond of 25,000 is rarely issued. So what I'll do is, what you will do is you'll search this out. And yes, I wanted to tell you one more thing, that is I've already uploaded your assignments on the Google Classroom. Have you seen it? So you must have seen the last date too,
21st.
22nd.
Yeah,
21st?
21st.
Oh, I have placed 22nd now, no, but 21st का भी पूरा नहीं होगा because giving less than 10 days is not the type of work I want. So is that acceptable? कर पाओगे काम? You have to do in Word. Sorry, you have to give me a handwritten one. So write it down and scan it and send it to me. So the time is enough, or how much more? I've picked the topic because I'm aware that you are having your exams. How much time do you want? सब decide करके मुझे बता दो. Drop me a message that ma'am, this is the date we want. I'll do it. I have no issues with that. I just want my work done, Bachcho. And that too before the last date. If you'll say 25, I'll give you 25. But if you'll say 24, I'll give you 24. So tell me the date, I'll give you that date. I have no issues with that. But on the D day, don't tell me now हमारा काम नहीं हुआ है. Okay, I've changed your date to 29th. I hope that is okay. More than what you asked for. And now, no more negotiation. I want everything in a written and a scanned format. It slipped from my mind that you're having an exam. Else I wouldn't have ever placed 22nd as the date. Okay, so we are aware of this negotiable certificate of deposits now, that they are high value deposits which are available from the government and are generally taken by small investors because the least amount of risk is involved in them. Okay, so let's move forward towards broad money, that is M3. Now, what is broad money? This is the broadest definition which of the money, and this is something which consists of maximum number of inputs. The first thing that it consists is savings and FD in other financial institutions. Now, with this other financial institutions include companies and merchant banks. Like any foreign any foreign industry or company in any foreign country can be included. Any foreign bank can be included because the commercial banks that are there in our country are considered as commercial banks, whereas the banks which are not there in our country can be considered as financial companies or merchant banks. Like merchant banks in Malaysia or the financial companies that are there, they all can be included in M3. Okay, so the broader aspect of money is M1 plus M2, or we can say the broad money is M3 minus M1. But M3 is though considered as broad money, It includes savings and FD of other financial institutions and financial companies and merchant banks. And the last one is M4, that is also broad money. That is M3 plus total deposits from post office. But here the deposits from post office does not include NSC, that is National Savings Certificate. It includes only time deposits and recurring deposits. That is one of the reasons that M4 was being reduced, was being moved in between, because it had no major meaning by itself. So it was removed, but it is introduced back, and that is one of the reasons you are. So here what will we have in M4? M4 is M3 plus the post office deposits, other than the NSC, that is time deposits and recurring deposits from the post. Now, if you are talking about the liquidity aspect of M1, M2, M3, and M4, then we should take this into consideration that it is in the descending order. That is, M1 is the most liquid money, M2 is lesser, M3 is lesser, M4 is lesser. Are we clear with this? M4 is basically the least liquid money. You have to wait for a certain period of time for that. Is there anyone who is having a doubt? चलो मैं डेट वापस से चेंज कर देती हूँ, you people are not replying me. मैं उसको 20 तारीख की कर देती हूँ वापस. I'm asking you since long, are you having any doubt? Rahil is having a doubt. बोलो. ऐसे धमकी देके क्यों बुलवाना पड़ता है? ऐसे डार्लिंग स्टूडेंट्स, हम लोगों को धमकी देनी पड़ती है. ऐसे गलत बात है ना बच्चों. So no one is having any sort of doubt over here.
No, ma'am.
Do you want me to show you the slides once again?
All this four.
Pardon me?
Sorry, ma'am.
You said something?
Yeah, I said like you told about showing the slides again, so I'm asking you this four or the another slide.
Just this four, not the entire one. There are 86 slides. You want to see 86 slides again? Yes, as per me, this unit is having some 83 slides. You want to see all of them again?
No, no, ma'am. That's why.
Honey, I don't mind.
That's
For
why.
me, they are ready. I'll just show you. Okay, the last four you want to see? Fine, sure. I'll do that. This is about Reserve Bank approach. That is, it is for the supply of money. What all it includes? Then here it is stating that M1 is the narrow money. It can be directly used for transactions. What all they include in M1? Then we are having M2, that is quasi money or near money. It includes M1, and other than that, savings accounts from commercial banks, fixed deposits.
Why it is called near money?
Because this is not as liquid as the transaction money. That is why it is called near money, because this is the nearest form of liquid money possible with us. We can use the amount which is there in savings account, but with the permission of the bank. Like you have to put an put an application or a check in the bank, and only then you can use this savings account in the commercial bank. Or the fixed deposit is to be withdrawn. It is an entire process. When the process is done, only then you can get the money of fixed deposit. That is why this is called near money and not narrow money.
Okay.
It's not readily available, basically. Then we are having bond money. It's about the investment in the financial companies and trading banks. And the last one is the M4, in which the investment in post office is. This slide is also talking about the liquidity ratio. That is, the narrow money is the most liquid format, and the broad money is the least liquid format of money. Are we clear? Done with this? With this, I'll start your next unit, that is your unit 4.
Ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Uh, I didn't understand about M0. Can you just repeat it once?
It is reserves.
Okay,
R,
M0 just reserves.
yes, it is CRR SLR बेटा, और कुछ नहीं होता, इसीलिए उसको वापस से हटाया भी गया था.
Okay.
That cannot be considered as a supply of money, because they are the determinants of money supply. They are not money in themselves. That was one of the major reasons because of which it was introduced and scrapped.
Okay. Thank you.
M2 tends to be better narrow money, near money, not narrow money. There is some question. Near money is M2, that is the saving bank deposits, the commercial banks. FDs, but anything which cannot be drawn immediately when required. That can be termed as this near money. It is not M2 is not narrow money. Narrow money is M1. Hiram, गलत गलत बता रहे हो सबको. Darshan, M2 is near money. It's not narrow money. If we are talking about narrow money, then that is M1. It is the most usable currency. Basically, currency and checkable deposits are narrow money. They are cash in them in their own self. You can make a payment out of them. If you want to buy something and it is of an amount which is more than what is available in your pocket, what will you do? You give them a check. So that is narrow money. Whereas near money is something which can be used, but you need an approval also for that. Like if you want to withdraw your FD, you'll have to apply from the bank that I need to withdraw my FD. If you need to withdraw your savings, you have to make a transaction with the bank. So that is why they are called near money. They are very near, but at the same time, they are not readily usable. Whereas narrow money is something which is money, yes, it is money in itself and it is readily usable. Anyone else with any doubt? And it is very good if people are having a doubt. बिकॉज डाउट होगा तभी तो क्लेरिफाई होगा तभी तो हम बेटर चीज समझ पाएंगे. Okay, fine. So I hope now no one is having one. So we'll move towards our unit 4, that is business cycles and inflation. So what we'll do today is I'll just try to explain you what is the concept of business cycle, and we'll be going through the basic syllabus. That is what I generally do for each and every unit. I'll try to explain you that what is the syllabus of that particular unit. Okay. So what will we be doing in this particular unit is we'll be going through the concept of business cycle. What are the four phases of business cycle that we'll be going through? Then what is the interest rate, or we can say the loanable fund theory? Have you done anything from them? I'm just asking this for my better understanding. Have you done anything from them? The last part is inflation. I'm sure everyone must have done inflation. हाँ. इन्फ्लेशन जो कॉमर्स के स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं या जो जनरल स्टूडेंट्स, टेंथ से पहले भी, this is something which starts poking its nose in our studies. I am inflation. I will come. Inflation rate, yes. So in this unit, we'll be going through the concept of business cycle, the four phases of business cycle, the interest rate, and then the loanable fund theory. We'll be going through the liquidity preference theory. What are the motives of liquidity preference? Okay, what are the motives of the demand for money? What are the three motives of the demand for money? क्या आता है भाई, ये आपस में बातें करना शुरू हो गए. Yes, yes. Business cycle. Who's this? Hussain. Yes, Sriram. It does mean the boom, recession, depression, and through. See, kids, this is one thing that I like to tell you, and I usually tell you is that if you will reply in the class, you will enjoy. No, rise in price level is not the answer of what I asked you. What are the three motives? Three motives. The demand of money in the market. Okay, one of them is precautionary.
Transactional, precautionary, and speculative.
Yes, it is transactionary, precautionary, and speculative. No factorial. कहाँ से word उठा के लाते हो? These words don't even exist in macroeconomics. Okay, so we'll be going through the motives of liquidity preference. That is transaction motive, precaution motive, and speculative motive. After that, we'll be going through the factors which are affecting the interest rate. And at the end, we'll be going through inflation, the meaning, types, causes, and effects of inflation, and what is investment and how are this investment and inflation related to one another. This is what we will be going through in. Who is this Jeet Shah? So these are the This is what we'll be doing. So let us start with the concept of business cycle. Now, what is this business cycle? Basically, business is something which is I'll say an indivisible part of the economy. So a business cycle can be termed as an economic cycle or a boom and bust cycle because this business cycle is something which refers to the economy-wide fluctuations in case of production, trade, general economic activity. So whatever economy-wide fluctuations are taking place in the entire economy, that is something which can be shown with the help of a business cycle. Now, from a conceptual perspective, a business cycle is the upward and downward movement of the gross domestic product. That is why it is something which refers to the expansion and contraction of the level of economic activities, and that too in a long period of time. See, the business cycle is not something which will happen over the period of a year. It is not seasonal. It is not a temporary. It takes a lot of time. Like earlier, we have done this part recession and boom in this in American economy in the year of 1980 to 1982. We have seen that there was the Great Depression was in the year of 1929. Yes, that was the year of Great Depression. After that, the economy revived. It came up. Then in the year of 1980, it again went down. Then in the year of 1982, they got some breathable space and they came up again. Uh, then if I'm talking about Indian economy, in the year of 1988 to 1990, it has seen a very bad time. And because of those conditions, what happened in India was we levied this LPG. That is, what is LPG? Why should I tell you what is LPG? What is LPG? In
Liberalization,
19,
Liberalization,
privatization.
privatization, and globalization.
गुड अगर लिक्विड पेट्रोलियम गैस बोला होता आप लोगों ने तो मैंने सबको पास के बाहर निकाल देती थी यस अब व्हाट अबाउट एल राहुल अब वो अभी भी लिक्विड है
Liberalization.
No, ma'am. It's liberalization.
ओके like I was just taking a class yesterday, not of the management students, it was some other people, and I asked them what is LPG. They told me it's liquid petroleum gas, and the next moment
Actually, that is
they were not management people. So for them, knowing that LPG is liberalization, privatization, and globalization is a bit tough. But telling me it is liquid petroleum gas was very bad. At least they should have kept mum. Like you people do some of the times when you're not aware what to say. Chup rehna was an option, but nahin. They had to say it. So they said it. Okay, so this is what our business cycle is about. That is basically it's an economic cycle of through peak, contraction, and expansion. And that too for a very longer period of time. See, as you can see, there's a business cycle, there are the phases of business cycle. And if you see them for a longer period of time, you'll be able to make out that the business is constantly rising. It's not that it is falling. If we are removing all sorts of fluctuations from the business, we can see it is rising constantly. But at the same time, it is moving through different peaks also. This is something which we will do tomorrow. For today, बहुत हो गया, and we'll stop over here. If you're having any doubt regarding anything that we have done today, you can put up a question. If you're not having a doubt, then you can laugh as much as you want. And thank you for attending the class. Your class is some of the times most entertaining moment of my day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.